All right guys, in today's video, I want to talk about and show you how to hit a fairway wood off of the ground. What are the key pieces you need to focus in, both setup and in swing, when to do it, how to judge risk reward. Is it a good idea in general? Let's talk fairway wood off the ground. All right guys, so let's talk about how to hit a fairway wood off of the ground. Now we want to do a video specifically on this, off the ground, fairway woods from the fairway or the rough, and to approach shots into the hole here. So the first thing I want to do is talk about just general concepts of when to do it, when not to do it, judging risk reward. I want to talk about when you hit it, what setup adjustments you need to make, what in-swing adjustments you need to make, what's sort of the goal here with this club. So I'm going to take my setup position and we'll go through the setup adjustments between this club and the other one. First things first in terms of setup. Okay, so now I have a 5 wood that I grabbed that I'm going to hit here. This will be true for any of the fairway woods. The two noticeable things you'll adjust and you'll see with your fairway wood that'll change, number one, and the most important thing, is going to be ball position. So I always say in the online lessons or videos we do that I like to see the ball position somewhere between sternum location or shirt buttons and shirt logo for stock iron shots, right? As demonstrated by the best players in the world and where we want the golf ball to be, that would be a good spot for irons. Now for fairway woods, we're gonna want the ball to be a little bit more forward. So somewhere between your iron ball position and your driver ball position. I like to see the driver ball position somewhere between your sort of left shoulder, left armpit territory. And I like to typically I like to use the upper body reference points because it's easier to manage. The lower body, depending upon feet width and aim and stuff, gets a little bit hairy. So with the 3 wood, with the 5 wood, shirt logo would be about as far back to the right I would put them. So if I took my normal setup position and sort of laid the club down, shirt logo would probably be a good starting point. Somewhere between there and my left shoulder would be pretty typical. Now that's a stock, okay? Play with that. If that doesn't give good performance and you hit it really good with the ball a little bit farther back, then that's fine, do that. Or if you hit it better with the ball forward, do what works, but I would go about shirt logo first. Now the second noticeable piece, if I took this compared to an iron, my sand wedge would look about here, right? My sand wedge would be about like this. So my feet would be closer, I'd be closer to the golf ball, the ball would be more in the middle. My 7 iron might look like this, and then my 3 wood's gonna look like this. So I'm widening my feet as my clubs get longer. As a stock iron position for the shorter irons, I like to see the ankles about in line with the shoulders. As a baseline, of course, there's room for differences there. But as the clubs get longer, I want your feet to get wider, to the point with a driver even, they're quite a bit outside of the shoulders, okay? So I want that so we can shift pressure and get some speed. If we're hitting a 3 wood or 5 wood, the intent is to hit it pretty far. Width of stance can help with pressure shifts and hit the ball a little bit farther. So feet are a little bit wider, ball position in line with the shirt logo, and that's really it for the setup. I don't need you like the driver where we might say, hey, add a little bit of right side bend, add a little bit of this because the ball's in the tee, I want to hit it far. Because the ball's in the ground, I don't really want to do too much with it. Those are the main setup pieces. Ball position will be adjusted, feet width. We're not adding tilt. I'm not doing anything else. From the down the line position, it looks the same. That'll be the setup piece. Let's talk a little bit about in-swing pieces. So in-swing adjustments with the 3 wood and 5 wood. The main message, right, of this whole video, and the point I want to get across, is that whatever feels you would use for your swing. So if I'm working on shallowing my downswing, if I'm working on grip, or if I'm working on a backswing plan, or whatever you're doing, you're going to do for this as well. Okay? So people ask all the time, Eric, is a fairway wood a different swing than an iron swing? Well, it depends on how you reference the question. Is it different in, like, if we measured it with the gears or 3D, might there be differences because the club's different? Yeah, of course. But for you, in terms of your intent, should you be trying to do something different than your normal? Well, in most cases, the answer to that is no, meaning whatever piece you're working on mechanically, you should be feeling that as well. Let's say, for example, I'm really focusing on my wrist angles and having my right wrist bent forever, which we have a nice video on, by the way, and that's my feel. I'm going to feel that for all of my clubs. If I find that specifically with my fairway wood, that doesn't work as well, then of course I'm not going to use it for that. Okay, let's use some common sense with this stuff too. I want that as a stock pattern. If it doesn't work with the fairway wood, then great, then take it out of there. What if that doesn't work for my driver, you know, or my fairway wood? Then don't use it for those, that's fine. The best you can, stay in the same lanes. If you're someone who's way over the top or way too far inside out and you need to fix that pattern, you're going to have to fix that with this too. Okay, so the main thing is whatever your normal swing stuff you're working on is going to apply here. Should you do something specific for this? Am I doing a different swing with my fairway wood? No, I'm not. May I have, or may you have, a feel or two that works really well with this specific shot? Sure, okay? For me, individually, when I go play, we'll talk about game sort of management here in a minute. When I have my fairway wood, I'm making the same swing feels as normal. Okay, for guys and gals who play golf, who are too far under the plane during the downswing, swing inside out and hit pushes and hooks who are too shallow, this is a really hard shot, and I would hardly ever hit this off the ground. We'll get into that in a minute, because I'm too far inside out. So for me, when I'm hitting off the ground, I'm trying to have solid contact. I'm really feeling like I'm making sure that I'm getting that, I feel like I'm in a slice. I'm getting the club head sort of outside, steepening the angle of attack a little bit to help ensure solidness of contact. So depending upon your pattern, you might feel something different to try and sort of help guarantee it. But you're doing the same things as normal. You're making setup adjustments and you're doing the same things. You're hitting balls and you're experimenting where the ball position and feel should be to give you the best results. Not a different swing than your normal swings. All right, guys, so we're gonna hit some balls on TrackMan. I grabbed a 3-wood here. We're gonna hit a couple 3-woods, hit a couple of 8-irons. I wanna show you a couple of the key parameters that are different between the 3-wood and the 8-iron. Specifically, we'll look at some speed differences, how the angle of attack and low point changes, some dynamic loft and other things. What's actually different as measured by the numbers between the clubs, and how can that help us in terms of swinging the club any differently? We'll dig into this a little bit more, and then we'll head back out and we'll talk course management pieces with the 3-wood. Okay, so let's take a look at the TrackMan numbers here that I have on here and how these compare to hitting an iron or a different club. So a couple of the things that I want to kind of key in on. So here's my club head speed, which is at 99.7. Now notice my angle of attack. So my angle of attack on this one, and again, I'm more towards shallow here, is 0.6, minus 0.6, which for me means that I only hit down a half a degree, which is very little. So I've essentially picked the ball off the ground. Club path numbers are pretty neutral. That's not that big of a deal. Dynamic loft of 14.3. I kind of just grabbed a random Mizuno 15-degree 3-wood here, so that'll be specific to that. Not worried about that really. My low point was 0.7 ahead, okay? So that means that I hit the ball first, hit the ground second. A key point with your 3-wood is we're trying to hit that similar to an iron in that I still need to hit the ball first and ground second and make sure my low point is ahead of the golf ball. The overall height was 103 feet in the air with the landing angle being 14 as you go, or 44 rather. That's where the ball lands towards the ground. As you go, spin loft is something that I would monitor, mine being 14.9. That's my dynamic loft and angle of attack. You don't need to know that yet. The point here is, how is this different than an iron? Well, my angle of attack was shallower. My club head speed was up. Obviously, my loft was lower. I still got the ball pretty high in the air at 103 feet. The ball launched at 11.6. Obviously, spin rates are being a little bit higher, but the main points, again, angle of attack and club head speed would be the ones that change. I'm hitting down less on the ball compared to my 8-iron, but my speed went up quite a bit. Okay, so here was the 8-iron that I hit, and let's just look at some of the differences. Now, the club head speed obviously was lower, so I was at 87.8 compared to about 99 on the other one. So my club head speed went up over 10 miles per hour with just the change in the club. The big thing I want you to note here, notice the difference in my angle of attack. Now I hit that 8-iron 4.3 degrees downward, which is about a typical angle of attack for me, and sort of a high-level player would be somewhere between 3 to 5 as a normal range would be about average. Club path was 0. The dynamic loft was 25.3, which is about normal-ish for my speed. The face-to-path stuff isn't going to change all that much. Here's another key factor that changes. Notice my low point. My low point here was 4.3 ahead. The other one was 0.7. So what that means is, with my angle of attack being more down and my low point being more forward, I'm hitting more down on my 8-iron there than my 3-wood was just, my low point was barely in front of the ball. So I'm much more of a sweep with my 3-wood off the ground compared to my iron is what that means. Now this one only went 87.3, 87.9 rather. I hit it a little bit low, about a groove low. So that's why that number is different. Mostly the height of it's going to be pretty much the same across the board. Spin rate obviously with an 8-iron going to be jacked up quite a bit. The launch angle would be higher because I had more loft, spin loft, or smash would be down. But the main points, angle of attack more down, low point more forward. Okay, obviously I have more loft with the club, but those are the key parts that change. My 3-wood, I had more speed, I hit less down, my low point was less forward. Those are the main factors in terms of the literal differences between the two. All right guys, so probably the most important part of this video and the main message we want to get across is sort of the risk reward, when to hit the fairway wood or when not to. Overwhelmingly, most of you guys watching this video and gals, kind of regardless of skill level, you should hit your fairway wood off the ground as few times as humanly possible. So the risk that poses me hitting the ball off of the turf compared to hitting a different shot, the risk is far too great relative to the reward, okay? When I go play golf, which doesn't happen as much anymore, but when I do go play, I don't hit a fairway wood off the ground hardly ever, okay? The odds of me hitting a fairway wood offline and getting into trouble and adding shots versus what I gain is just not worth it. Let me give you an example. Let's say that let's say you're 250 yards away. Let's say you're a higher level player. You're 250 yards away in a par 4. And you're in the fairway wood, or you're in the fairway rather, and you're gonna hit a fairway wood towards the green. There's maybe a couple trees and bunkers. If you hit a perfect shot, and maybe you hit your fairway wood 230, 240, you're 10 or 20 yards in front of the green, no problem, if you hit a perfect shot. But the odds of me hitting a bad shot there with my 3-wood, I might do that 3 or 4 times out of 10, where I might flare one into the trees or just have bad contact where I don't get all of it out of it. If you hit your fairway good all the time, then don't worry about this. Like, then hit it, you're fine. But for most of us, we don't. Versus, what if I hit a 4-iron or a 5-iron and I only hit that 190, say? Okay, now I'm 40 yards out in the middle of the fairway still, instead of 10 or 20. What's going to be the difference in my score from 30 yards or 40 yards in the middle of the fairway versus 10 or 20 over the span of a year? Very little, very, very little. Versus, okay, if I hit my 3-wood out of bounds or I hit in a hazard or it's way offline, I'm going to make a bogey or worse on that hole when I can just hit an iron layup. The point is, it's not worth hitting it far down. I understand the stats, I know the stats. The closer you get to the hole, the better your odds of a lower score. You want to hit it as close as possible. But I also know that you making a double or a triple bogey, okay, from here is not worth you hitting an iron and laying up. Like, to me, literally, if you're not breaking 80 on a consistent basis, I wouldn't even hit the 3-wood. I'd put the 3-wood in the bag, maybe off the tee, but in terms of a second shot on a par 4, And the same thing on a par 5. Okay, if you're an advanced skill level and you could hit it really solid, then maybe, even me when I go play, I shoot around par, a couple under, couple over. I don't like to hit it because it just maximizes my percentage of error. Sure, if I pull it off, I get an eagle putt sometimes, and that's cool if you're playing golf every single day. But if not, it's too hard. So that'd be my general rule. If you're someone who shoots 90 or above, you're not allowed to hit it, okay? In my world, you pull out a hybrid or something, or a club you can hit, and you use that. If you are more advanced on a par 5-2, the same thing applies. What is it gonna be your average score in there? 4.5 on average of a par 5 if you are great, right? So why can't you do that from 30 or 40 or 50 yards with an iron? You should. So I would put the thing away and not hit it. Moral of the story, don't hit it. Use another club. If you have to hit it, then practice it enough in a practice setting where you have a predictable go-to pattern. You see a lot of really high-level players going with a fade pattern, both off the tee and with this and myself, because it's predictable. So again, I'm going to say this a couple times. If you have so far into a par 4, look at hitting the ball farther off the tee. Look at hitting a wedge or hitting a hybrid and then getting better with your wedge in your short game to score. Use this as an absolute worst case scenario. All right guys, thanks for watching the video. If you guys like this, please do me a favor and click the like button down below. Click the notification bell if you haven't already, and please subscribe if you haven't. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any comments, leave them down below.